All right, well, welcome back. As you can tell, I had to go ahead and upgrade the lights in my garage. Before, I was basically running on 2 shop lights that used those 4-foot fluorescent bulbs, and I had to have the garage door open so that the sunlight coming in would be enough light to work by. But as it's getting through fall and into winter, it gets dark too early, and quite frankly, it's too cold to have the garage door open all the time. So I took those 2 shop lights out and I replaced them with 5 8-foot LEDs. It might seem like it's a little bit of overkill, but honestly, man, as soon as you turn the lights on, it's super bright in here and much easier to work with. So it's gonna be a game changer for me because now I can work later at night and be able to keep the door shut and keep it a little bit warmer. So in this episode, what we're gonna start working on is putting out on this outer skin of this A-pillar. And I'm just really gonna take my time to fit it right and make sure that it's all ready to go, fitting in the right spot, keeping the gaps where I want it. Then I'll prep it, drill all the holes for the plug welds, and go ahead and get it attached. The other thing that I'm gonna need to do is put this end panel in on the front part of this outer sill. The back one I'm gonna leave out for right now until I repair that wheel well in the back. So that's what I'm gonna focus on this episode. So I think I have it fitting in the way I want to. Obviously up here looks good. This side, I might grind down a little bit more of this edge so there's not so much of an overlap. But what I basically had to do was go through and just kind of shave down just a little bit in order to get this thing to fit on there to where it was shifted over in the right spot. So at this point, I think I'm gonna go ahead and prep the outer skin so that when I actually get it to where I want it to be, I can go ahead and clamp it and tack weld it in. Because I think I've mocked it up to the point where I feel pretty solid with it. Then it'll be a matter of clamping it and then bending this outer edge around it once it's all welded in there. So I have the plug weld holes drilled. I've got it clamped up here with a little clamp, and you can see this is gonna match up really nice, so I can just tack weld it right here. I'm gonna go back. I forgot to pop some holes in this. So I'll probably put one here and one here, maybe even one right here. So that once I get it in there, I can pound that down flat and plug weld it. I did plug welds all through here, and then obviously there's one on the top there as well. So it'll be a matter of pushing it in and clamping it so that it sits in there really nice, and then just welding it in. Then after I do that, I'll have to work on the actual fold of this piece around the edge. Okay, so I don't really have a big clamp to go around that whole post. So what I decided to do was just run a bolt through there with a washer on it and just crank it down, and that has drawn it in on the top and bottom so I can weld these 2 spots, and it should be held in. So I'm gonna do these 2 spots first, and then I'm gonna work my way down, and then this clamp is holding the top, so it should be good, but I think the alignment's good, so this is kind of my rigged up way to pull this in close enough to where I can get it welded. So what I've done this morning is I've gone ahead and welded this spot right here to hold it. And now I'm working on just getting the fold started around this edge. To get this top part, I just started kind of tapping on it with a hammer to get it moving in the right direction. With this part, I have just taken a pair of pliers, a pair of channel locks, because they've got the angle on it, and I'm just going along and just grabbing a hold of it and just slowly moving it. Once I start to get the fold, I think I'm gonna then go with the hammer and just kind of tap it around and see if I can get that to fold. I'm not gonna fold it all the way because once I get it going, I'm then gonna go back up and weld this top part. Once you get the bend going around and start to fold, it comes out pretty easy. I just used a hammer and a pair of channel locks and just kept kind of squeezing it as I went. And you just kind of have to take your time and work your way down. I went ahead and welded across the top too, and obviously that'll get even blended more with body filler once you go to do the paint. But yeah, so it's on there and it's solid. I'm gonna work on this end panel down here before I go ahead and put the door back on. But I wanna put the door back on at some point to make sure it fits the way it should. This little end panel is pretty straightforward. I've got a couple of holes, plug weld holes drilled in, and this will slide in there. I've got a couple of holes drilled here to weld in. Before I put this in, I cleaned off all the primer on the inside of it, knowing that I was gonna have to weld these two things together. But I'm gonna go ahead and coat everything with a weld through primer, and then I'll tap this thing in, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plug welds, and it should be in there. Okay, I'm finished for today. I got the outer skin on the A-post finished. It lines up really nice. I did go ahead and finish welding in this little end plate. I put the door on and I put the fender on. I didn't bolt the fender on, I just used a magnet to kind of hold it in place, but I like all the lines. I think everything lined up really good. From here to the gap here is good. I think it turned out surprisingly well. So at this point, I feel like I'm finished with the front part of the driver's side, and now I'm going to switch over to the passenger side in the front, which is going to be a lot of the same repairs I've already done. I'm not going to use 10 or 15 episodes to get it done. I'm going to start cleaning it up right away and cutting out the floor pan and figuring out everything that needs to be replaced. So that's coming up in the next episode.